Hey everybody, we've already kind of discussed how to factor. I didn't make any super special notes. I think maybe yours are printed. But we are going to do two sections in one right now. And that comes to chapter 4. You've learned this and you really should have learned it pretty well in Algebra 1. So this is going to be your like 5th or 6th crash course in just factoring. Now, we're going to talk about 4-4 first, and then we're going to move into 4-5. They're pretty much the same thing, except for 4-5 is an extra step. So 4-4 deals with factoring, and I would like to factor with you 6x squared minus 5x minus 4. And yeah, your notes might be typed, mine aren't, okay? I'm just going to do it by hand. Now, there are two ways in which to factor, everyone, okay? There is the book way, and then there is the guess and check way. Some of you have only learned the book way, and that depends on whose class you were in. If you had Miss Miles, Miss Evans, or Mr. Phillips, they taught you the book way. If you had me, I taught you the book way and guess and check. Well, I'm still going to teach both ways. I don't really care which one you pick, as long as by the end of today, you know how to factor and you can factor really, really well. Okay? So we're going to talk about the book way first. The first thing you did with Miss Miles or Miss Evans or with Mr. Phillips is you took the two values, let's see, put an A, B, and a C by all these, and you did A times C. So in this case, you would do 6 times negative 4, and you would get negative 24. I hope this rings a bell. And then you would have made a chart, and you would have done A times C here. So what we would have had, let me erase this because I think Miss Miles did a little bit different. You have to do things that you need to list the factors. That's how she said it. You need to list the factors of negative 24 on this side, and then you need to find the sum of those factors. Now you might be like, well, I forget, what number am I supposed to get when I get the sum? You're supposed to get B. So in this case, you're supposed to get negative 5. So thinking off the top of my head, 24 is made up of, negative 24 is made up of negative 6 and 4, if you were to multiply them together. Well, guess what? Unfortunately, negative 6 and 4, when you add them, equals negative 2. We need a negative 5. That means I don't have the right answer. Well, maybe you're thinking, well, I know like 8 times 3, or maybe 8 times negative 3 is negative 24. Well, okay. Does 8 plus negative 3, that equals a positive 5. Oh, I'm close, but I need a negative 5. So, I know that's not right, and I was so close. So this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to use negative 8 and positive 3. Let's check and see if I picked the right one. So I'll do positive 8 plus, or excuse me, negative 8 plus 3. There's where I got my negative 5. Negative 5 is what I needed. I have the proper multiplication. I found my answers. So now what Miss Miles would have, or Miss Miles, Mr. Phillips, or Miss Evans would have done with you is they would have said, okay, it's time to rewrite it. Keep the 6x squared. But instead of writing minus 5x, you need to write minus 8x and plus 3x. Now you might be like, well, why minus 8 and why plus 3? Because those were the ones that you already found that worked. And then you finish it off with your minus 4 in the back. Okay, and then they would have you factor by grouping. So you kind of group the first two and the last two. The first ones you pull out what you can. For example, in this case, we can pull out a 2 and an x. The reason we can pull out a 2 and an x is because that's what's in both of 6 and 8. So pulling out a 2x out of 6x squared leaves me with a 3x minus 8 divided by 2 is a 4, and the x gets pulled out. Now, the next one, you pull out this sign. I don't care if it's a minus or a plus, that's what you pull out. And in this case, nothing goes into 3 that also goes into 4, except for 1. So I had to pull out a 1. That's going to leave me with 3x minus 4. Now, the goal here is to get the same parentheses, which we did. So what happens is you pull out that parenthesis, 3x minus 4, and you write what you have left, 2x plus 1. Okay? And then you can see the hand of the 2x plus 1. Now, if you don't like that way, so be it. That's your choice, okay? I will teach you, so this is what I call the book way. I will also teach you using guess and check. Again, you don't have to use guess and check if you like the book way, okay? Say we have 6x squared minus 5x minus 4. Here's how guess and check works. You break 6x down like this. Well, maybe it's 2x and 3x. Maybe it's 6x and 1x. And you break 4 down with 4 and 1, 2 and 2. In other words, the things that make those numbers, okay? Then when you multiply them. You know you're going to have a double parenthesis. Now, clearly I know what the right answer is. I'm going to pretend like I don't know what the right answer is, okay? Pretend I say this. I'm going to try using 2x and 3x. Put them here and here. I'm going to try using 2 and 2. Okay, so in my first try, I'm using 2 and 2 and 2 and 3. So you put the x's here and here, 2x, 3x, and the regular numbers here and here, 2 and 2. Well, here's how you're going to test if you did it right. You multiply the insides together. 2 and 3 makes a 6x. And you multiply the outsides together. 2 and 2 makes a 4x. You need to get to that magic negative 5. Well, there is no way that 6 and 4 is going to make that magic negative 5. So maybe what I want to do now is erase this 2 and this 2. And instead of trying 2 and 2, I'm going to try 4 and 1. Okay? So now we'll recheck. 4 and 3 makes 12, and 2 and 1 makes 2. Well, there's no way that 12 and 2 is going to make that negative 5. Okay, you say, maybe I'll just switch the 4 and the 1. Well, so be it. Let's try it. And most of you should be okay with this. At least the students who had me, you should remember this pretty well. Let's see, 1 and 3 makes 3, and 4 and 2 makes 8. There we go. I can get 3 and 8 to make a negative 5, as long as the 8 is negative and the 3 is positive. So to make the 8 negative, I need this 4 to be negative. And to make a 3 positive, I need this to be positive. I could double check, make sure my signs are good to go, which they are, and get the final answer. So you might be like, well, maybe that was really frustrating for you just to see. Honestly, guys, if you are really good at adding and multiplying, guess and check's easier for you. Whereas if you were really good at memorizing steps, the book way is really good for you. Okay? I don't really care which way you pick. Just pick one and be really good at it for the rest of Algebra 2, okay?